All right, boys. Welcome to the Crushing Limits Unleashed podcast. Here we are again. We have IFBB Pro Peter Burmester, Pro Coach Eric, and IFBB Pro 212 Jordan Janowitz. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a while, man. Like obviously we used to run into each other, at a lot of shows. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong. Were you in Michigan before?
Yes, Michigan, and now I'm in Texas.
Right, right. I started seeing when you were popping up at the Metroflex, and I was like, I wonder if he's like just training down there temporarily. And then eventually I saw that you had made the move there.
Yeah, I made the move, and the weather here is awesome.
If any guy should be training at that gym, shouldn't it be Jordan?
Yeah,
It's just a pilgrimage to where he should have been all along.
Well, thank you. It would have been awesome to be down here 10 years ago, back
Yeah,
when Branch and Johnny were competing, to be around that.
no
yeah.
kidding, man.
But I'm sure there are guys there that are going to say that about you now in 10 years, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've had a couple guys there that they've been training there since 99, 2000. They're like, dude, you remind me of Branch. So it's kind of cool
Mhm.
to hear that.
What a compliment, right?
Yeah, really.
So tell us about that a little bit. Like, how did that move happen? Like, what brought you down besides like the gym, or was it solely like the training?
No, I mean, the training was like one of the last things. I had my coach Andrew Vu, he lives down here in Mansfield, and I moved to Burleson. But when I did the Texas Pro, my wife and I we liked it down here a lot, and I had asked him if he has any connections on jobs and that, and he is like in with a roofing company, so I came down here for a week and checked it out and shadowed the owner, stayed with him, and I liked it. And a couple months later, I did it again just to make sure, if it was something that we wanted to officially do. And came down here for another week and liked it and decided that we'd go ahead and move down here.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so Andrew Vu had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, yeah. Peter works with Andrew too. I'm sure you probably know.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we
Yeah.
we keep in touch.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, Andrew's got he's got a lot of great clients, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what's new, man? Since it's been a while, like give us some update, like how off season's going. You got any shows in the works? I'm sure there's something.
No, currently I'm just kind of training and having fun. I'd like to. I mean, I'd like to do open next year. That'd be kind of cool. We'll see what happens this year. How I grow and whatnot. So I feel like if I do 212 again, I kind of look the same. Maybe be a little bit more dense, but
Hmm.
I feel like just staying in 212, I won't really improve. And it's bodybuilding. I feel like you should keep building the body. I know I don't wouldn't stand a chance against Samson and Andrew, but to look better than I have, that would be a win for me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like your physique is like more dense, kind of like Branch had, but I kind of feel like you would kind of emulate like a Nathan Epler because he's shredded, he's dense like you are.
His symmetry, and he's very aesthetic, and his waist. That thing's
Yeah.
tiny. That's the thing I have to watch when I grow. I watch my waist because I don't genetically have a small waist,
Hmm.
like
Both of us.
Keon or Nathan.
Yeah. I feel like he's kind of at that point too where it's like he's obviously not a small guy, but he's still got to add a lot more to really like stand out like in that open.
Yeah, he did 212 and he took fifth at the Olympia.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I saw Nathan. I've followed Nathan for a long time. We both did USA's together 2019 where he won his pro card. But watching him this year at the Chicago from the front row looked absolutely incredible. And he's
yeah,
someone that I think pictures don't do him justice. I know that's cliche to say, but until you see him on stage and his physique comes alive, I think he'd impress a lot of people. I think a lot of people would be Nathan Epler fans if they actually saw him posing and competing. He's
yeah.
very
And in person,
impressive.
I bet it's pretty wild in person because I was
Yeah,
at
and
the
he presents so well, his charisma, the poses that he chooses.
yeah.
He's very, very good, very underrated.
I
Yeah,
agree.
as you know, I did the Texas Pro. I took second there, but I went the following day. to watch
Mhm.
open, Andrew and
Yeah.
Nathan Epler and Jordan Hutchinson, and it was very impressive.
Yeah, that was just the case. I think if Andrew weren't on that stage, the story coming out of that weekend would have been how great him and Jordan looked and, you know,
Yeah,
upcoming stars in that division.
right, right.
What'd you
Real
guys think of FIBO?
Did Vito win that? Or
He won Brazil.
it was Sergio and Andrew, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
I heard
Sergio,
Vito won
Andrew,
a
and
show.
Sass.
Was
mhm.
there a show that weekend that Vito won too?
That was last weekend. That was
Okay.
Brazil.
Brazil.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's
Um,
gonna be incredible.
yeah, Jordan and I talk here and there throughout the week. We were both talking about Vito and how crazy he looked. Um, in terms of FIBO, I was pulling for Sass. It looks like they had him winning the prejudging.
Hmm.
Um, but Andrew, it looks like tightened up a little bit, and it's just too much size for those guys, and I think pulled ahead at the night show. It was good to
Yeah.
see Sergio back on stage. Um, Chicago guy, know him from quads back in the
Sure.
day. But it looks like him and Boss have a good plan ahead for them as well. So yeah, I thought it was a great show.
What'd you guys think, Eric? Did you see any of the footage? I'm sure you probably did.
I did, and it's one of those tricky ones. You're not there, so you're going by pictures, and the lighting is
Mhm.
always,
Hmm.
never anyone's friend. But that's what it looked like to me too. And I'm a fan of the whole sport. I love it all, but definitely I had Sasson first. But I
Hmm.
wanted to hop back real quick before we got too far up. Jordan, what did you weigh when you turned pro?
Oh yeah, when I turned pro, I was actually 219.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I think Justin Shire, he was like 215. I was actually heavier than him. And I remember talking to Andrew afterwards. I'm like, what should we do? Should we do 212 or open? And my mind was, oh, I can't compete with these open guys. I should go 212. And he's like, dude, you can, if you want to go open, we can do that. But in my mind, I was like, I'm like 6 pounds from 212. Let's just jump into 212 because I'll be competitive right away, which I was. But then I don't have any, but it's like I could have taken that following year off and went open like Justin. And then, I mean, I would have been bigger. But I decided to do
Yeah,
212.
yeah, I saw your post. And I saw that you were talking about it, and I thought that that was a really interesting move to do because you've spent so much time growing and building all of this tissue, and then you're looking at it, you're like, well, I got to cut
Mhm.
basically 6 pounds of stage weight off and stuff her down. Was that a really mentally difficult thing to say, okay, we got to tone back some of the food, we got to tone back some of this stuff, but you were already there and you're just like, okay, we just got to suffer down a little bit extra, maybe shave off a pound of actual muscle and then step on stage and be awesome. Because obviously it worked very well for you and it shown, but mentally was it
Yeah, I
hard
mean,
to back?
no, not really. I mean, all the preps with Andrew compared to my previous coaches, I wouldn't say they're easy, but they've been easier than other preps with other coaches. He feeds me pretty well. We have our days, where I'm kind of suffering. I kind of question myself a little bit, but it's like I love this. I love what I do, so it's worth it, and it's only temporary. It's a few weeks of suffering.
Yeah.
What does that look like though? I know you're a guy that likes to train hard, heavy. When I can't grow out of the class, is that in the back of your head when you're in the gym?
I mean, I'm still pushing extremely hard,
Yeah.
but I do think to myself, like if I didn't have to worry about weight, like I could train a little bit harder, maybe.
Hmm.
But
Eat a
I
little
mean, I'm,
bit.
I'm
Yeah.
pushing it. I'm pushing it as hard as I can mentally and physically.
Hmm.
And I feel like cutting to 212, like not that it gets like real flat, but I feel like the first thing to go is my back. It's like kind of flattens out a little bit. And I like at nationals, my back was wild. Like it looked awesome. And then at 212, it wasn't as dense.
Did you notice that it was harder to fill out because you had to deplete so much,
Huh?
or it was just part of the deal with just streamlining the physique a little bit?
Yeah, just streamline the physique. We didn't really deplete. Like I've never done like no carbs. I've always gotten like about at least 100 carbs. So I've never really suffered to the point where it's like zero carbs. And he gives me fats too. That helps a lot mentally, especially with the brain.
Hmm.
Okay.
I've done preps with Matt Porter. Whew. They were hard. He's like a no fast kind of guy. High carb, sure, but when you're not having any fats, that's really rough.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, it obviously
I think
worked.
we did the 2015 North Americans together and the 2016 USA's, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I know
You
we've
were you were
battled. We've
you were
battled
fifth or
several.
sixth, I think, at the
Yeah.
North Americans that year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. USA's, it was like I was like on, and then it was like, you know how it goes, like from your hotel to the stage. And something happened within like an hour where I was
Man.
like, you see yourself on, you're like, okay, I'm on, this is it. And then when I saw the pictures, I was like, holy shit, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
You know?
My worst showing was the 2016 North Americans. It's the only
Mhm.
time I got a second call out, and like I looked awesome the night before, and I was in the room with my coach, and he was snoring so loud. So I
Oh,
went in the bathroom and slept on the floor, and I just think that ruined how I looked.
yeah, very
Yeah,
possible.
that USA's though, like literally everyone was there. Like that show was stacked.
It
A lot
was,
of
man.
current pros now they did that show.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was. Well, tell us about last year. Obviously you won the Tampa Pro, which was, outstanding for the 212. You made it to your first Olympia. Like, tell us all about it. Like the feelings, the prep itself, stepping on stage.
yeah, it was quite incredible because the previous year I did Chicago and I took sixth, which was disappointing because the year before that I did the Texas Pro and took third, so I was on like a real high, and then I ended up taking sixth in Chicago. Definitely was not my best look, and I decided to move to Texas. I'm like, well, I'm training at Metroflex. I was like, I'm gonna make it a goal to make it to the Olympia, and I did, and it was literally the day before you had to turn your name in for the Tampa Pro. I turned my name in because we didn't plan on doing Tampa. We were shooting for Texas,
Hmm.
and Andrew's like, dude, you're ready. You might as well just go. So I decided to do it. Everything aligned. I was able to get the days off for work. I literally flew in the day before. I landed at like 3 p.m. And then the show was the next day, and an hour and a half after finals, I had to get on the airport and go back home. So I just kind of ran in there, took the show, and went home.
I remember hearing you telling me you were doing that and then
Yeah,
following, rooting for you. And then I think you had your meal after the show, like at the
yeah.
airport or
There's
on the
a
way.
there's an IHOP like right before the airport, so I stopped there real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Dude,
was it
that's
was
awesome.
awesome. And then I was shooting for back to backs in Texas. A lot of people said it could have went either way. It is what it is. I
Mhm.
almost took back to back one, so that was cool.
Mhm.
And then 8 weeks later was the Olympia. It was a long prep.
How
What
did you
was
feel
that?
with the? Oh, go ahead, man.
Oh, I was going to say, what was that like stepping on the Olympia stage? You
It
think about
was
it, I'm sure so many years doing this sport and it's all of our dream. Was there anything that took you by surprise, things you didn't expect about that experience?
the coolest part was like the crowd, like during prejudging. A lot of the pro shows, for some reason, like there's not a lot of people in the crowd.
Right.
Mhm.
At the Olympia, like at the expo, there was so many people in the crowd. Like it was really awesome. Like, there's a lot of former Olympia competitors that are watching too. So that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't like starstruck like a deer in headlights, but I was like, holy crap, this is awesome.
What are your thoughts on competing at the expo versus the big stage for prejudging? Do you think that's a good thing for 212? Get more eyes on it, or would you have rather
Yeah,
been on the
either way, it doesn't matter. I think competing in the expo was really cool.
yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, to be honest with you, it's kind of just like a regular pro show.
Yeah, it's really strange because, like, I mean, I've been to a lot of pro shows in the last 20 years, and we'll see if you agree. I mean, I was at Chicago, a couple years ago, so I watched that. We've been to the Texas Pro, 2 years in a row, and it's just strange how, of course, they say bodybuilding is growing, there's more fans than ever, there's more money than ever, but then, like you said, Jordan, where it's like the prejudging, it's like, am I in a library or like what the hell is going on? Like,
like like Peter when we did Chicago, I swear
Yeah.
there were like 15 people in the crowd, maybe
Yeah, it
in
was
pre-judging.
weird.
It was
You
it was
know,
bad.
it was my first pro show, so at the time I didn't care. I was so happy to be there and so excited to step on
Yeah.
stage. But then, like, I remember after and looking back, and I had a few people, family and stuff, come see it, and they had our prejudging on a Friday out in the suburbs at like 11 o'clock. There was
Mhm.
no one there.
Yeah.
No one.
It reminded me of North Americans' COVID in the tent.
Yeah. And and I remember having a conversation with Justin Jacoby, who was with Jansen at the time, and they're the ones that reached out to Tim Gardner when he cut 212 from Chicago last year. And they were the ones that graciously put up the money to have 212 added back to Chicago last year. And I was talking to Justin, I'm like, if we're going to do 212, they need to put it on Saturday before the open so that people can actually come see us and there's a crowd. And the atmosphere was significantly better last year in terms of
Great.
turnout on a Saturday. Um, but yeah, it's difficult. You would think that a professional sport would draw a bigger crowd, but
Right.
yeah.
And now what, they got rid of open?
Yeah, and now that was a strange turn of events. Not sure why they got rid of open because um, their open class last year had probably more competitors than any show in the US last year. It was huge.
Sure.
There were like three call outs worth of guys, three, four call outs. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Crazy.
Well, tell us about your training. Like obviously, anyone that follows you, like Peter was saying, it's hard, it's intense, it's crazy ass weight. Was there ever a time when you were kind of climbing the ranks where it was more slow and controlled, or has it been like, explosive since you started? Is that really what you found worked and you just stuck with it since?
Yeah, I've pretty much stuck with it since I mean, I got into bodybuilding 2009, first show was 2012, and I found Ronnie Coleman and Brent Warren on YouTube, and I was just always watching those guys all the time. Um, Kevin Levrone, Dorian Yates. There's times where it's just like I lately I've kind of been more lifting, kind of like still like really hard and heavy, but more like a Dorian Yates approach, more kind of slow and controlled, slower on the way down and more explosive on the way up. But I've had my days where I'm just like, screw it, I'm just going balls to the wall.
Yeah,
Um,
It's kind of hard. Like at Metroplex, like that music is so loud, it gets you so pumped up and just want to go crazy.
Now, Jordan, you're about my age, correct? 36, 37.
Yeah, I just turned 37 a couple months ago. Crazy. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, it goes quick.
Yeah.
Um, how does the physique feel at this point after training, all these years? Do you work around injuries? Do you relatively feel great?
Leg days, I have to warm up quite a bit before I actually do my first quad movement
Yeah.
lately. Because my knee is kind of like bipolar off and on. As for like barbell back squats, I don't really barbell back squat anymore. I'll go up to like 315 maybe and rep that out. I don't feel like I really get much out of it. I think my ankle and hip mobility is maybe a little thrown off. My mechanics, I feel like I lean too far forward. I struggle to put my arm behind the bar. It's really uncomfortable on my shoulder. And I know Dorian, he had that issue too. He kind of built his quads doing barbell squats, and then he stepped away from it and more focused on leg press and hack squats. I feel like I get more out of that than a barbell squat.
Yeah, I feel I
I
follow that
built my
progression as well.
foundation on barbell squats, where that's where I built my legs. So, everyone's got to have a foundation, build their foundation upon.
Yeah, I agree. I think pretty much all of us, back squatted and that was, just
Yeah,
a
I feel like nobody really that's been bodybuilding for a long time really back squats that often. I know James Hollings said he still back squats quite a bit, but a lot
yeah.
of
Yeah.
guys don't really see him doing 500 reps, 500-pound reps on the barbell squat like they used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, or when like someone posts it up, it's just like no one cares because it's not like new and fancy.
It's not a hack squat with like three green bands on it and 12
Yeah.
Uh,
on the side.
yeah,
Jordan, do you coach anyone or
I don't actually
no?
know. I've prepped one guy for a show back in 2018 for a
Okay.
men's physique contest, and he looked pretty good.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like I'd be good at the training, but as for the coaching, I'm just not quite confident enough in myself to look at a physique and say this is what you need to eat, this is what you don't need to eat. I
Mhm.
know it's more of a learning thing, you know.
Yeah.
I would never be able to prep. I couldn't prep myself for a show and look the way I do. I'd be questioning myself. Should I do 45 minutes cardio? Or should I do a half hour? I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
What's
it's
been
something I would like to get into at some point though, and especially being an Olympia competitor, that just alone would bring clients,
yeah.
you know, knocking
Even
on the
if you
door.
just did like the training side too,
Yeah,
building out programs for, athletes coming up, I think that would be a
I,
great.
I I think you'd surprise yourself. You've worked with a lot of top coaches. You've been doing this a long time. I think you know a lot more than you probably
yeah,
give yourself credit
but
for.
yeah, I
I know we've had
sounds a little
conversations.
bit more confident about it. I think I'd
Yeah,
probably do pretty well.
yeah.
Yeah, that definitely be one of those things, you gotta get your feet wet, jump into the deep end, and you understand prep, you understand what goes into it, what's expected of the athletes and things like
Yeah,
that. And so you have such a good ability to be relatable to them, be like, hey, I know this is going to be pretty sucky right now,
sure.
but this is what, it's going to be so worth it. And this is what's going to happen, and give them the mental image of, hey, this is what's going to feel like, this is how it's going to happen, this is how we're going to finish it all off. And it gives them that reassurance and it makes you feel good. And yeah, it's definitely something I think that you'd really thrive at.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too, and some good side money as well. Yeah,
No, you may not know how much cardio you need, but when you take a look at your physique, hopefully we get to see you on open stage someday. What is it you think you need to work on? What do you think is that recipe for success? Is it, what is it? Is it more muscle? Is it better conditioning? Is it bringing the waist in, bigger back? What do you focus on over the next 2 years?
yeah. I don't think the conditioning is an issue.
No.
I would say, I mean, definitely the waist. Tyler's always said make sure that waist is in check, especially during transitions. That's when you kind of tend to let it go. You got to know how to hide it when you're doing transitions and that. Put your hands in front of your waist before you go to ab thigh because you might let your waist out a little bit. And like Tyler's really picky about that kind of stuff. The waist.
Hmm.
Um, I think my legs are good. I think my chest could be a little bit bigger, my upper chest. So kind of, I should do more, not necessarily more worry about the weight, but more like control and really feel it in the chest versus sometimes I end up, fatiguing and then my shoulders take over, but I shouldn't let that happen. If I really want to build my chest, I should really focus on the upper chest. Yeah, and I think my back's good. There's my back double. I think is great. My rear lat needs a little bit of work, but I think my back double is really good.
Yeah. The pictures you posted recently, the like side by side, your back double looks crazy.
Yeah,
Especially the thickness and detail through the hamstrings and the
Tyler's
glutes.
always said he'd like to see my lower lat insertions get a little lower as well. I don't know if that's a genetic thing or if it's something I can work on. I've been doing more underhand stuff the past couple years, but I haven't really seen any improvements. I don't know if it's a genetic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your split look like now for training?
It's just one body part once a week right now. Yeah. I try to, if I have the time, hit back twice a week. I'll do one day will be like a heavy compound movement. The other day will just be machines and cables.
Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, it's body part once a week.
Sure.
I do quads and hams together. I don't split them up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the viewers, like what does a typical day look like? Because you said, at least for legs, you do warm up quite a bit. Once you're warmed up, are you doing like a top set? Are you doing a few top sets or like how does that look like?
Yeah. It's always a top set for everything. I start with the abductor machine and I'll do standing calf raises and I will do lying leg curl, and then I will go into my quad movements. I'll pick three quad movements, and then I'll also end it with a hamstring, usually seated leg curl.
Okay.
Yeah. So hack squat, leg extension. Well, leg extension, hack squat, leg press. That's usually my three quad movements. Sometimes I'll do standing lunges in the Smith machine or split squats with a dumbbell, Bulgarian split squats.
Hmm. Now,
But
does
yeah, it's always a top set, and if it just kind of go by how I feel if I want to do a drop set or not. Really,
sure.
nothing's really written or set in stone.
Okay. So
Yeah,
does Andrew write your program, or does he kind of just let you like?
yeah. I've never had any like training. It's just diet and supplementation
Okay,
with
sure.
you know yeah the training I've all done on my own.
Yep. What's been the most challenging prep? I know you said some of them were, not too strenuous, other than the low fat, but what's been like the most challenging prep and what was so difficult about it?
I would say 2017 Nationals was definitely the hardest. I wasn't sure if I would quite make it to the stage or not, and I did. And it was because of the basically like maybe 10 grams of fat we were doing every day. Like,
Oh.
oh, it was so hard with Porter. And yeah, I was doing hit cardio twice a day, and then he ended up putting
Oh,
steady state the last couple weeks. And those last couple weeks, I was dying.
what was the hit
I just
cardio? Was that
remember
on the
like
bike?
I'd go to the gym, I'd be driving to the gym because Nationals. This is when it was like the week before Thanksgiving, and like
Mhm.
Christmas music was coming out, and I was just always listening to Christmas music to like help it calm me down. I wouldn't be listening to Korn or Dr. Dre or anything. It'd be Christmas music.
Was there like, I'm sure you were giving some type of feedback to Matt. Was it just kind of like, nope, you just got to do it this way, Jordan, or like how did that work?
Yeah, it was just you got to do it like this. Basically, I think he did end up before bed. I remember he added like two eggs. I got two eggs, and that really did help. Yeah, it did. And I wasn't doing any fish oil. He told me to go get some fish oil,
Mhm.
and that seemed to kind of help a little bit mentally as well.
Yeah. Have you guys, I'm sure you guys have done low fat at some point, Eric, Peter.
I know the supplementation was kind of high as well with
Mhm.
Porter, so
Yeah.
that maybe have messed me messed with me a little bit mentally.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Matt Porter's definitely has got some interesting protocols, but no, Matt was good people.
Oh, he's great. I love Matt. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, man. I think I saw Matt maybe like 7 or 8 months before he passed away, and I just remember thinking, I was like, man, like you got some big ass shoulders, dude. But he was good people. I liked him. He was definitely unique. But I've done zero carb and essentially zero fat for like 4 months straight before just to see what would happen. It was 6 meals a day, chicken breast, and nothing but chicken breast. Nothing else. Just to see what would happen. It's not good. Don't do it.
Yeah. That's mentally tough.
do
The
you
the first couple weeks were weird, and then after that, you just kind of get used to it, and you're like, hey, my life just kind of sucks. I guess I'm gonna go do cardio.
Were
do
you
you
doing
guys feel
anything
that?
else?
What's that?
Were you doing anything else besides chicken, or was it like chicken fish or like
No, it was 100% just boiled gray chicken breast 6 times a day, every day.
the worst?
Oil.
Worst.
Wow.
Yeah, no oil, no seasoning, no nothing, just gray chicken.
Do you guys feel what works for someone can drastically change over a career given the amount of muscle tissue? I'll give you an example. When I started with Andrew, all the NPC shows we did together, it was pretty much low to zero carbs, pretty high fats and protein. Minute we grew for 2 years and then jumped into the 212, he flipped it. It was pretty much very low fats and high carbs. And conditioning was, about comparable. But it's just strange that, it seems like something different happened with my physique in terms of response to fats and carbs. Have you guys found any of that?
Yeah, I see that with just about everyone, especially people that are consistent. They go from one prep to another, or they stay in a controlled off season, the improvement season. Well, once you're lean, it's pretty easy to maintain the leanness. And so it just kind of, you end up with these little tweaks. I noticed that probably 95% of all my competitors, guys and girls, as we progress through the rankings, by the time we get to the national level and then deep into the pro level, they're probably running 50% of the gear that they ran as an amateur. Because you're already there, you have the tissue, and now we just need to etch in the details. And I mean, we've got some big name people, and I know for a fact both Brian and Michael run less than 50% than what we started at. So
Oh,
it's just one of those things. But the food thing, Brian's probably made the biggest change because we've done every kind of variation. And he and I have a wellness girl, and all their food is completely flip-flopped. They did
Hmm.
really well at the beginning with the high fats, low carbs, and now with just dense muscle tissue and the way that the mitochondria works in their body, they need a tremendous amount of carbs 24/7, but they don't need very much fats. So it's definitely an interesting journey for all these different athletes on how their body changes and how you have to adapt with it so they can keep progressing.
I
Yeah.
think what I've seen is it kind of depends. I feel like, if you say, like low, like rough genetics, you have your average genetics, and then you have like your elite in somewhere, some fashion. I feel like people with like above average genetics, you can kind of change the map a little bit when it comes to like playing with the macros, sometimes playing with the cardio, the supplementation, all that stuff. I feel like, someone with poor genetics, or, maybe they had really bad habits, like they used to be really overweight, or they used to have a drinking problem, a drug problem, stuff like that. I feel like what I've seen is it's a little bit more narrow when it comes to some of the variables. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I feel like, the gifted athletes can kind of like, you can kind of put them on whatever, and
They'll respond to anything. Yeah.
yeah, like, okay, now we're gonna do high carb this year, and
Hmm.
like, yeah, I do feel like your body can change though, like and of course, like Casito says, not every prep's gonna be different, which I'm sure all of us have noticed.
We
It's
all agree with that. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. What do you think, Jordan?
Now, whatever Boss of Outlaws doing seems to be pretty crazy for all of his clients.
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty
Um, I,
pretty awesome
I, I've
coach.
heard I've heard some of the stuff from the guys working with him. I know he's a much lower protein guy. Um,
Okay,
some
which
guys
is
like
good close
Ryan
to
and
the show.
them.
That's to kind of keep your waist a little tighter.
Yeah, like I think even some of those big open guys are doing like 4 ounces of meat at meals, which is polar opposite of what guys like Hani and Chad Nichols have historically done, sometimes running up to 12, 16 ounces a meal, which is don't sign me up for that.
Yeah, Ronnie was doing 16. That's what Brian
Yeah,
Johnson told me.
yeah,
That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
I
but
can't imagine doing four either.
yeah,
yeah, like
but
bikini girl diet.
it's a good point you raised, Jordan, though. I think there's such a big emphasis on streamlined waists now that Tyler's pushing and that we've seen in the top 10 that I don't know about you, but if I start getting up to 8, 10 ounces of meat a day at each meal, I can't control my waist at all.
Yeah,
I have,
yeah.
digestive issues and I'm bloated and
It
it's
look,
very, very difficult
yeah,
the amount of digestive stress that processing all that meat has. So
yeah. It looks good in the morning when you wake up, and a couple meals later.
yeah. Do you do vacuums at all? Do you do anything, any waist training or
I do. It's not every day. I mean,
yeah,
I probably should do it every day.
I know what that's like.
Yeah,
What
I
do
am
you
doing the Stairmaster. This is the first time I've actually stayed like consistent with the Stairmaster in off season. I feel like it's helping keep me leaner. Andrew says I look a lot leaner than I have in past off seasons. So, and
And you're
I'm
around like 250 right now?
Like 245. And we're not even pushing. Like I actually just had an echocardiogram. The results came back great. The cardiologist said heart looks awesome, healthy functioning. So, we're going to kind of start pushing a little bit now. So I should start putting on a little bit more weight here and there over the next few weeks. But I think keeping the Stairmaster in is a lot better than doing the treadmill because I can keep my heart rate, around 135. A lot of these, my heart rate's more around 135. To be at 135 on the treadmill, I feel like I have to run.
I struggle with that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Um,
I end up getting shin splints. Like, that doesn't feel good.
yeah, I get frustrated on the treadmill because right now incline walk is my fasted cardio, and he wants me around 125 to 135.
Hmm.
I mean, anything over 3.2 speed, I'm pretty much starting to break a jog.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that
I like
doesn't get
the
me there. So
elliptical is probably my favorite.
you and my wife,
Yeah.
she loves
Oh, she likes the
elliptical.
elliptical. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I see her stories. She's always posting her doing cardio.
Yeah.
What is she
She's doing
about?
so much right now. It's
How many weeks
unbelievable.
out is she?
I want to say 6 out of the first one, and then Universe is after that.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, yeah, I'm excited for her. But yeah,
Yeah.
she's at like 90 minutes a day now, which, man,
Hmm.
I don't know. I've done that before. I don't envy it.
I've always heard, you hear about guys doing like 2 hours of cardio a day. That's crazy.
What was that?
Yeah, I mean, in the past you've heard about guys doing like 2 hours of cardio a day. That's really
I've come close
time
to that
consuming.
with Andrew. That's what it took for me for that USA's win 2019. I was doing close to 2 hours of stairs a day for probably 8 weeks or more. It was,
Like
yeah, it's a lot.
full time job, the gym, cooking, getting your meals in. If you have kids, whew,
Yeah.
that's rough. It's rough.
I It's not the energy consumption that's the hard part for me. It's like you said, the time, like just finding two
Yeah,
hours out of your day where you're not accomplishing anything else. It's
that's
just
why
such
I
a time
I
suck.
I kind of did like hit with Matt Porter because it was literally like 15 minutes, 16 minutes, you're done. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you typically get up to in a prep, Jordan? Like for cardio, is it like 30? Is it less than that?
It starts at an hour once we start the prep, and then like this past prep, I think for like 8 weeks it was probably an hour, and then he cut it to 45 minutes, and then like eight weeks out, it was probably about he probably took another 10 off that. It was like 35 minutes. And then a couple weeks later, it was like 25. And then the last like 4 weeks, it was probably only 20 minutes. And the entire Olympia prep for 8 weeks, it was only 20 minutes. 5 days a week. It's not 7 days, it's 5 days.
Good. Yeah, that's
Yeah. So you can't complain about that 20 minutes of cardio.
no.
Yeah.
With
And
your
he
schedule.
told me, he's like, I'd completely get rid of the cardio, honestly. He's like, but I just want to keep it in for heart health.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah.
With your schedule, with everything that you have going on, do you have to do all of your cardio in one sitting, or are you able to split it up?
You mean like if I'm at an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do 30 minutes fasted and then I would do 30 minutes after the workout.
Fuck,
Yeah.
dude.
But when it was 20, when I got on 20, I would just do 20 minutes post workout. I didn't even do fasted. I know they say like fasted cardio is supposed to help burn fat more, but most of my preps I haven't done fasted cardio. Most of it's always been post workout. I feel like in the morning, like I don't know, I'm so tired. It takes me a while to get my heart rate going. And after the workout, I'll get my heart rate up to 130 right away. I feel like that's
I'm the same.
more
I'm the
beneficial. I
same
feel like.
way.
So out of bed, I'm like lazy, and it's like takes me 10 minutes to get going. It's like I've already done 10 minutes of cardio, but I haven't even broke a sweat yet.
Hmm. Seems like a waste, you know.
Yeah, it kind of does. But once you get going, like 10 minutes in, you're good.
Is there any part of the prep that you kind of struggle with that you just like, whether it's meal prep or, maybe your wife helps you out with that, or is it the cardio? Like, what's the part where you're just like, if only this would be better?
I mean, I can't really complain about anything. The only thing would be was the food maybe could be a little bit higher at times, but
Mhm.
yeah. Hello. Yeah, just the food could be a little bit higher at times. That's really it. Yeah, can't really complain about anything else.
So one thing that we've talked about in this podcast before, and Vic and I always debate it, and I want to get your input, Jordan. What do you think is harder and more? Hey there, cool like mom.
Yeah, I won't
What
be too much longer. Okay, go ahead.
what do you feel is more challenging for you? Is it when calories in food is very, very high in the off season and you're pushing, or in a contest prep where you're hungry and food is low?
I always feel like the off season is harder when you're really pushing the food.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I totally
remember.
agree.
Yeah, I remember the past off season. I was doing 160 grams of oats with 100 grams of berries before bed, and I had a few fig Newtons in there, which is easy to get down. Um, there was like two or three eggs, and it was also a protein shake. But oh, the oatmeal and the berries, oh, that was so hard to eat. I would eat it, and I'd be watching TV, and I'd fall asleep, and
Yeah,
I'd wake up an hour, and it's freezing cold. So I'd put it back in the microwave and have to down it. It was hard to get down. 100 to me, 160 grams of oats. That's hard to get down.
yeah.
Versus
I've
cream of wheat, like 160 grams of cream of wheat, I can do, but the oats is just so thick. It's
Mhm.
hard to
I
do.
I had to do that for a stint with him, and it was meal one. And
Oh yeah.
it was before work when I was going into an office, and meal one was like two
Oh
cups of egg whites, like an English muffin, berries, 2 cups of oats. It was just so much volume. And at the
yeah,
time, in off season, there's no appetite, especially in the morning. And
yeah.
I'm
That's
just
why it
sitting
kind
there
of makes
looking
you
at the
want to do
clock.
faster cardio.
Yeah,
That way your
fasted
appetite will
carbs
be
never
better.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Eric? What's the most you've gotten up to in like, do you have a challenging meal? Like when Peter was saying the egg whites, the 2 cups, it's just awful. Even though it's like a lighter than like a meat, it's just something about finishing the eggs that's just like repulsive.
It's so much volume.
Yeah.
When before I downsized and I had my kid and I was just walking around huge, my food intake was atrocious. It's super high, so you had to do cardio every day just to get some of the food to digest. Because I would do, depending on where I was, when I stayed under 280, my first meal was always around 10 eggs, and then once I broke that 280, 285 mark, I was doing a dozen eggs for two of my meals. And so, just 2 dozen eggs a day. So the volume of the eggs, I love eggs, but just it's so much volume. And by the time you get to those last couple bites, you're sweating and you're just uncomfortable.
The price has gone up too.
I know you don't want to
That's
do
what I
that
was
Hard
meal
to
thinking
find
again.
egg
of.
whites. Can't find them at Walmart. I can't find them at Sam's Club. We have an HEB down here. I was able to find them at HEB.
Ooh, I get this penny.
And late usually when I start pushing around 250, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm done cooking the egg whites and I just drink them.
Oh, there you
Dad,
go.
how many is this dollar?
What are the eggs going for over by you guys?
Like
Oh,
24.
dollar wise.
Oh, I think they're around. I think it's about 7.99.
For a dozen?
24.
Oh, hey man, that's a pretty good deal. I just left my Tahoe house and I grabbed a dozen and it was $21.
Oh, where do you live?
Tahoe.
Is that
Oh, wow.
Lake
It's
Tahoe and
yeah,
Utah?
Lake Tahoe, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
and I went to
that's
pay.
outrageous. I can't complain then.
Yeah, I just went and I went to pay and I was crying as it was going through. I was like, I don't want to pay this much money.
Yeah, yeah. And the
That's
egg whites, like when you're doing 2 cups of egg whites, you go through a carton so fast. You go through the
Yeah,
carton so
that's
fast.
like 2 servings. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's like that.
I
Yeah.
mean, a carton of egg whites is $7 too. So just buying three cartons of egg whites, that's 21 bucks. Like
Bodybuilding's an expensive
it
sport.
gets expensive.
Now, Jordan, you have, I believe, 2 daughters, right? This is one of them.
Yep, Hensley, she's 5, gonna be 6 next month, and then my other daughter is 4.
Awesome. What do they think of the bodybuilding?
Yeah, they keep saying I want you to go back on the stage so we can see you on stage. So that's kind of cool. That's pretty motivating.
Were they able to see you at the Olympia?
Yeah, they were there.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Texas
Well,
Pro and the Olympia. Texas Pro is nice because it's literally
Yeah.
35 minutes from my house. So, that might be not this year, obviously, but maybe next year I might shoot for that and open
Mhm.
and lose to Andrew Jack because he wins it every year.
well, as we wrap up here, always like to ask a few questions. We'll say two questions, and unless Peter and Eric have more, what's your weirdest prep purchase, if you can remember?
My weirdest prep purchase?
Yours.
I don't have any. I know people like they always go out and like they'll like buy cars and that. I've never experienced that. I've always buy the stuff that I need.
Okay.
I seriously don't have like a weird prep purchase. I don't.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is because I always hear people about going out and buying weird stuff. And I was
Right.
like, I've never experienced that.
Okay. And how about, someone getting into the sport, let's say like early 20s, and they're just getting into it. They've been lifting for a year or two. They go to your page, they're like, all right, I want to be like Jordan. What's your best piece of advice for someone like that that's just getting into it? They want to compete, they want to go as far as they can.
Just to stay consistent with your workouts and the meals, shooting to get 5-6 meals in a day, and really just look up at the top guys in the history of bodybuilding, like Ronnie and Dorian. That's kind of where I learned, just kind of watching them. That's where I kind of learned how to train. Really, yeah, staying consistent with it, and make sure you have a passion for it and you love it, and you can be surprised at how far you can go, how far you can get. I never thought I'd get to the Olympia stage, and it went by so fast. Like it's kind of crazy that I did it.
Yeah, that's key, man. How about you guys?
Yeah.
Any other final questions for Jordan?
Yeah. Now you've had a couple different coaches, and now where you train at Metroflex is such a hub of just incredible athletes and incredible minds in this industry. What's one thing that really sticks out that stuck with you, whether it be advice or a different way of training? Is there something that someone told you that you're like, wow, this is going to live in my brain rent free forever?
Like recently, or
Anytime.
hmm, not. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Yeah,
Well,
I can't
nothing
think of
wrong with
anything.
that. Well, hey man, we really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing me on.
And
Absolutely,
and
man.
and
Awesome. Good
Jordan,
to
for
catch up.
anyone that wants to contact you for coaching, how should
Yeah.
they reach out to you?
All I have is an Instagram. Just
Okay. Okay.
DM me on Instagram.
Awesome.
Man. Well, hey, we'll catch you next time, man, and you'll have to keep us posted with your off season.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right,
Absolutely.
boys.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Yeah, of
Chris.
course.
Of course.
We'll see you guys next time.
All right, Peter, Laura, take it easy.